Hello, welcome. Come sit with me. I've decided I'm going to move this camera way up high since I am going to be creating a demonstration for you today. And I am Ana Laura de la Garza, and I actually will be putting these videos into maybe a little website, I'm not sure. And I decided to do this because I've always in every studio I've had chairs for people to come, and if they did come visit, they could sit down and watch me work, I guess. Well, that was quite vain of me. Who wants to watch somebody else work? Not too many. So I decided, I've had a lot of conversations with friends, and I thought, you know what? I'm going to just go ahead and create this, and it's going to be called Come Sit With Me. And it's a site where I'm going to actually talk about my mono printing and monotypes, and this is one that I'm actually going to be working on. I've done this one for my raspas venosas, or I could also say las raspas borrachas. The red, I have the red raspa, the white raspa, and the blue, and they're kind of fun and crazy at the same time. I'm going to be talking about the process of printmaking on this one, and in between on how I got started. Let's take a look at this. What it always works well with printmaking is actually, for me at least, try to have a really good drawing. There's other people who work very differently. This is kind of like an abstraction because they're comic, and I do work a lot with kind of more of an abstract. But for me, it works well if I have a good idea of a black and white drawing, and believe it or not, when I draw, I already see color for me, and so it works really well. So the first step is that I actually take this drawing and I reverse it and I trace it. And so, believe it or not, while I do this, I also make some judgment calls of changes if I need to make it. So not necessarily is the drawing going to stay. Most of the time it will stay in that to the fullest. Let me go ahead and what I'm going to do is we're going to start off by with the first color of yellow in this. And what I need to do is I'm going to change this because this is actually my good paper. Oh no, this is not. Oh, well, there we go. I'm going to use one of these for the bottom. My good paper, actually I've already cut it, and I'll make decisions what kind of paper and so on and so forth. Then what I do is I run it in the press. I do this in order for if there's any stretching of the paper. I'm not going to be taking you back and forth to the printing press because I don't have the camera set up, and I just have it in one way. I'm doing it from my phone. So what I've done is I've taken care of the paper, and now what I usually do is I start off with the yellow. I have to keep in mind of what I'm actually doing with the yellow and where the yellow is going to go. And I decided that I'm actually going to create a white raspa head right here. It's going to be a white raspa head, and this is also going to be white. And I really do want a blue background. So really, I don't want to really saturate it with yellow on the blue background, because everything that the blue touches yellow, it's going to turn, that's right, into a green. Remember that in your basic classes. I've got these brayers, and I made it small because I've got the small one because I'm not going to do the full size. If I was going to do the full size, can I use this small brayer? Absolutely. But I actually, this gives me a little bit more control when I'm laying out the color. Hear that? There's a certain sound when you actually spread the yellow on this. See that? And actually, then what I do is I take a look, and if I see any streaks, oh my goodness, I got this right just the first time. Great. I will go back and forth. If if it has you'll hear this. If it has a slushy sound, it means that the ink's gonna have pellets for me, and I'm not too crazy about that. I also do run it in a medium kind of pressure. If I run something too high and it's too much ink, it's gonna kind of create little blobs everywhere. Hear that? Oh, it's beautiful. The smell in here is also absolutely beautiful. I actually will wear gloves when I work with this. I'm using the inks, and this is not my yellow. Let's see. I actually use trans, which is, it will kind of give it a transparency that I need. Otherwise, it'll be a little bit deeper in color. And I'm using, I actually love this brand, and I do use etching inks. They tend to have more color for me, and they work really well. Sometimes with my color, I'm looking for my yellow, and I guess I don't know. Oh, here it is. I'm using just processed yellow, and this yellow tends to be, look how gorgeous it is. Woo. It's kind of very loose, and so I will add a magnesium to it. It's a powder to thicken it a little bit. And sometimes in some of my violets, which I'll be using, they're a little bit too thick, and so that makes it difficult to work with. And so you'll add kind of like an oil to it. These are my, I'll tell you, these are my brushes for monoprinting, monotypes that I create. And I tend to use shop rags. I used to use cotton, but these are actually pretty good for this job. So while I'm talking to you, I'm going to make sure I have it on the right side. Remember, I said I want this blue, so I'm able to see. What I'm going to do is, there's at times that what I'll do is I do have a light source behind me, and let's see if I can get this turned on, and maybe, there we go. And that kind of helps me a little bit better if I need to. Probably not so much for yellow, but definitely when I'm using the darker colors of some of the blues. If I do use black, I haven't used black in quite a while. I used to love the black. Boy, those prints would take me forever, and there's no way I can actually film. I'm gonna try and keep my head away from the camera viewpoint. So we'll see how this comes out. Remember, I'm gonna create a white raspa, and these are my raspas borrachas. Kind of went over there, but that's okay. I kind of, since I know I'm going to remove this, I kind of create this outline. Otherwise, I wouldn't do it, and so then I have to work around it. I usually tend to go and look at highlights to lowlights. So I'm going to actually, maybe I should just do that while I'm here. I can remove it that way. I then use kind of my finger, and you see how it creates these wonderful lines. And this time around, I cannot keep it, because then these yellow lines will actually end up turning into green. And I'm not sure at this point, I really don't see green in this image. So I'm gonna do my white raspa, maybe a coconut flavor, I don't know. And what I learned all of this was actually from two of my teachers from UTSA, Dennis Olson and Kent Rush. You know, they team taught before team teaching was even popular. They were fantastic. They were fantastic. But I will tell you that one time they were talking about one of the worst prints they saw, and they mentioned which one it was, and it was mine. At first, I just couldn't get the concept. strange thing is that I added the concepts of Wade Thiebaud, who is a California artist, unbelievable pop artist that did candies and landscapes of California, of San Francisco, and I fell in love with the brushstrokes, and I just thought, wow. And I think it was so I actually, not knowingly, I put it together and created these hangers on floors. And boy, Dennis Olson just went like totally kind of bonkers and said, "Oh my goodness, look at this, and this is so great." And I thought, they're hangers on floors, and I just had made them look like candy, and it was just a great thought. It was what I struggled with picking out my clothes in the college. You go with what you know, right? Anyways, I ended up going to Europe and took a class, and it just changed everything for me. It was just such a hard concept to grab, and I remember our students have to make sure that they have a good concept of drawing. So I guess all during that time I did have it. It was just couldn't come up with a theme, and we're going to be talking about themes in art on the next video. All right, so here I just really want to talk about introduction to this mono printing I do. I hope I'm not sticking my head in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the fun stuff. So since this is a white cone, okay, the cone that my raspa has a face, that's right. I actually, wherever I want the light source, and I already decided, where I want it, and I kind of want it casting over a little bit. And so I just go really quickly, and I've learned that if I just remove what I know is going to be lighter, when I run my finger or my Q-tip over, it just creates those strokes that they end up being really painterly like. See that? And this comes with a lot of knowledge in drawing for myself. Not that it's going to be an answer to everybody. I always get the highlights of the eyes. I think I'm going to actually I'm going to keep it yellow eyes, okay, for the iris to be yellow. I'm going to lighten this up, and we're going to see how it comes out. Lighten this up. I do know that I was very, very honored to have really good college instructors in drawing. I actually did not do well in high school, believe it or not. Matter of fact, I think at a certain point, they kicked me out of art class and put me to answer phones for the principal. Then I got kicked out for that one. Wasn't too good at that one. It was so stressful for me. Then I was put in the library, and for some reason, I loved it. I don't know, I did like it, but I did not really get trained in high school. No high school art classes. I just always did draw. So as you can tell, I am actually giving it the highlights of what is yellow, and the darkest value is still going to be a yellow. So this one's a little bit tough to kind of see. I will tell you that for me, as soon as the white print comes, the yellow print comes out of the press, it will tell me if it's going to be a good print. Or if it's not, it tells me how much more work I'm going to have to do. You see these lines I've already actually drawn right here. See that? I'm going to move this out of the way. I've already have some indications of, okay, I want this to be light, and I want this to have a yellow value. In other words, it's going to be a shadow. And so this is a highlight, and there's a dark value there. And then I'll come back with this. I'm just giving myself a heads up with the Q-tip. And then my index finger does most of the work on here. I know that this is a raspa. I'm going to get a new Q-tip. And right here is a highlight. I hope I don't, I just moved it. I have to now remember that I've just done that I went a little bit off. and I'm pretty good at remembering. It's kind of rare that I don't. I'm gonna kind of remove some of it, and I usually go after a darker, a kind of saturated Q-tip. You see how it leaves those marks? I'm gonna see if you can. It's hard to see what I'm really doing, but believe it or not, all of this is gonna actually come out. I know that I need the eyebrows to be dark. Or should I have them white? No, I think I'm going to give them dark eyebrows. The hair is going to be, which is those curly Q cones that I have here. See that? My raspa, every time my raspas actually drink a lot, they grow horns. Yeah, and actually I did a whole series of this, even sculpture pieces. And these are, I used to call them my politicians. Oh my goodness, our politicians were a little bit drunk. And so the more they drink, the more they believe what they're saying, and they forget about us. And so this is what actually this is all about. We're going to talk about theme later. Anyways, here is my raspa. And as you can tell, now I'm really actually removing this. I'm going to put a highlight, and I'm changing it. I do have some other lines. I'm going to kind of change it because, remember, I've actually did the drawing for a red raspa. Very different. I think this was supposed to be a red, white, and blue. So I'm going to go ahead and remove this. There we go. And I'm not going to leave this yellow really a strong yellow. I've got to remove this. Right here, see here, this is supposed to be the shadow. Now, mind you that we're still talking about a white raspa, so the shadow is still, it's going to be a pale color. Well, somewhat pale. It's going to be a vibrant less of. There you go. Now, one of my first art classes that I really ended up going into, I actually entered, was that my sister wanted to take a design class, and I thought it was absurd. I was in the middle of trying out for volleyball for a college, and I just did not want to play anymore. I just had, everything was lost in me. I'd lost my dad, and I realized, wow, people do lose. When you lose big. And I just all of a sudden had that competitive edge just removed completely from me. So I realized, hey, then I don't take art classes, and I don't take volleyball, and I can actually take art classes as a major. And I thought, who in the right mind majors in art? I thought it was just absurd. You see, I'm going to give it that highlights, and then that's going to be the darkness. I'm going to lighten up here where there's that twinkle in your eye, the high value, and then move it here. Anyways, bottom line is I took it, and Dr. Olasini was teaching art history, and oh my goodness. Now I'm just gonna actually go through these. Since this is the shadow, I'm just gonna go through this slowly but surely. And I just have to look. I can see it here. I'm not sure if you can see it from up there, but I actually have this thing on how the direction and the folds here. I just naturally allow them to go where they want to go. And I will, it creates that painterly look that I think I tend to really enjoy. I'm not going to say I'm the best painter, probably one of the worst painters. Boy, did I paint a lot. But I'm not going to say I'm the best printmaker. Oh, it's almost it's really odd. Anyways, and I'm here telling you how to print. Anyways, Dr. Olisini is one teacher that he was showing us the history. Was the first day. I'm gonna just create this shadow here. It's going to have a shadow, but I don't want it to look like a mustache. But you know how it just does get a little darker right here. Anyways, I remember him finishing. I guess I didn't remember because he was like, ma'am, miss, the lesson is over. And I was still staring at the slide presentation on the wall that was nothing. And he said, the class is over. And I said, sir, where's all this stuff? And he goes, what stuff? I said, all this stuff. And he goes, the artwork? I said, yeah, where is this? I said, are they people's homes? And he said, yes, and in museums, and you can travel, like I said. And that's when it just hit me it just hit me. It hit me like, I want that stuff. I want to do that stuff. And it was just amazing. He's just such a jolly man. And here we go. Now this is the lip, and I'm gonna make it a luscious lip. So I'm gonna just highlight here and just right above, and just maybe not too much there. Anyways, so I kind of quickly look. Again, yellow is going to be the great indicator of how this print is going to come out. And I'm going to just show you one, and then I'm going to print it. So I've got another one that I did, and this one's going to be a red. So I don't know if you could see. Believe it or not, even though it doesn't look like it, I've actually treated it almost the same. See that? I mean, everything comes out. I don't know if you can even see that. Everything comes out. It's amazing. It's amazing. I'm going to remove I always make sure everything is clean. I did leave a little bit more yellow than I wanted to. I don't know. I tend to be a messy printer. Okay. Some of my teachers might be turning over. I'm going to just highlight it. I'm going to look at this. I went a little bit high. This is kind of... All right, I'm going to go ahead and print it. And I'm going to be printing, and I'm just kind of explain to you a little bit. I am going to probably leave. I have another one that I actually did. I'm gonna leave this right here, kind of for you to see. And I'm going to print this out here and put in a paper. Eventually I will show you one where it's just a small press. I've had larger press that my works have come out from Hare and Hound, and they are fantastic. Gary and Janet have helped me immensely throughout the year.